RWL Roadshow live this evening from Bloomington, Illinois. Good evening, wrestling fans. My name is Mike Lane, and alongside me, RWL Match Committee Chairman Seamus O'Toole. Good evening to you fans out there, and good evening to you too, Mike. Boy, am I excited. You realise they're less than 2 weeks away from the RWL Memphis Million at the Mid-South Coliseum on September the 23rd? No, indeed, Shay, that information is not lost upon me. And as we draw closer and closer to the 23rd of September, it's getting more and more exciting. This evening, we'll be beginning the United States Tag Team Tournament, and already there's a fly in the ointment there, isn't there, Shay? Only because Larry Zbyzsko and Greg Valentine felt left out. So tonight, they'll be fighting the Bell Council for slot number 15. Absolutely true, and Too Short Popeye Scott Bell has been hopping mad about it all day. And here come the Bell Council. Chris Jericho and Lex Luger, along with their manager Scott Bell. You know, most RWL fans, Michael, know about all the trouble we've been having with the so-called minority owner of RWL. So every time I see somebody like Bobby Heenan and his men try to screw him, it makes me smile. And indeed there are no smiles on the faces of Chris Jericho or Lex Luger, who have to fight to maintain their slot for a chance to face the second age in the first heat of the tournament. Sure, and that's another thing leaves me scratching me head, Mike. Why in the hell would anybody want to fight Pogo Loco and Kaz Manson, even if it were for a shot at the US Tag Team titles? Well, I would imagine most people see them as a stumbling block that needs to be removed. Well, then I suppose that's probably how Greg Valentine and Larry Zbyzsko see Chris Jericho and Lex Luger. True, Shay, but ever since forming their partnership earlier this year, Greg Valentine and Larry Zbyzsko have taken a special delight in tormenting Scott Bell and his associates. Tormenting him, is that what you call it, Mike? I seem to remember them beating 8 tons of crap out of Too Short and Wild Fortune. Yes, they did, and it certainly looks like they're going to be doing the same thing this evening to Chris Jericho and Lex Luger. Sure they are, 'cause they're motivated, Mike. Not just motivated to embarrass Too Short, but you know how all year Larry Zbyzko's been trying to get his hands on some championship gold. Well, maybe now's his chance now he's partnered up with Greg Valentine. Yes, I'm sure either one would be happy to tell you how good the US Tag Team Championships would look around their waists. But Shay, the time for talk is over and the time for action is at hand. This match just about to get underway, so let's see what develops. What develops indeed? Outside of a headache for Too Short, that is. And as this opening tag team contest gets underway, it's Lex Luger opening things up, driving a knee into the midsection of Larry Zbyzsko. Luger leading Zbyzsko to his feet now. Zbyzsko counters, shoulder to the chest, takes Lex Luger down. You were maybe expecting Zbyzsko to fight clean, Mike? No, Shay, I wasn't expecting anything. Zbyzsko drives a knee into the upper leg of Lex Luger. Larry Zbyzsko clearly in command of this one right now. Not no more he ain't. Lex Luger just countered him. And a strategic battle for control building up here between Zbyzsko and Lex Luger. Luger drives a knee into Zbyzko's head. Setting up for a big fall here. Zbyzsko counters. Hip toss. Mike, it looks to me like Larry Zbyzko's having some of them flashbacks in there, pretending it's Bruno Sammartino or something like that. Zbyzsko looking a bit like, well, I've got him now, what do I do with him? Decides to drag him into the center of the ring, reposition him a little bit. Russian leg sweep. And at long last, Larry Zbyzsko decides to tag in his partner, Greg Valentine. Lex Luger kind of caught between the devil and the deep blue sea here. Valentine with another Russian leg sweep. And Greg Valentine taking this one over. Greg Valentine positioning that leg of Lex Luger's. Knee wrench. Greg Valentine preparing to take Luger up. Luger takes him down instead. And wisely, Lex Luger getting to his corner, tagging in Chris Jericho. And would you get a look at this, Mike? That spalpeen Too Short introducing a chair into the ring. Given Jericho's present position, I don't think there's anything he could do about it. Valentine making sure Chris Jericho does not avail himself of that chair. Torques the upper leg of Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho countering with an arm drag. And here he goes. He's got that chair. But Valentine ducked out of the way like a matador, Mike. And dropping Chris Jericho on his head to add insult to injury. Valentine winding up. Elbow drop to the back of the head.
You know, Mike, it's easy for people to forget how talented Greg Valentine actually is.
Indeed, Valentine a 4-star general in that ring. And preventing Chris Jericho from making that tag.
Wait a minute, Mike. Too Short's trying to distract him now.
Greg Valentine on to Scott Bell's tricks here. He's not falling for it, not one bit.
Looks to me like Chris Jericho didn't consult his horoscope today, Mike.
Greg Valentine stalking Chris Jericho here. And there he goes. He's locked in the figure 4 leg lock on Chris Jericho. He's got it locked in real well.
Oh, good golly, and here comes Lex Luger to spoil the party.
Valentine perhaps wanting to try his luck again. Chris Jericho counters it, though. He won't be trying that one a second time, as Jericho tags in Lex Luger. Not pretty, perhaps, but functional tag team strategy. Jericho hanging on to Valentine for Lex Luger, who is now back in control. Russian leg sweep.
Michael, there aren't too many guys that were made to order to work for Allied Bell, but Lex Luger certainly is one of them.
Yes, but they're now referring to themselves as the Bell Council, Shay.
And what the hell do I care what stupid title they put on themselves?
Oh, it certainly is a valid argument, Shay. Luger stepping on the face of Greg Valentine. Luger bringing Valentine to his feet now. Valentine counters, shoulder to the chest, takes him down. Valentine headed to his corner, and here comes Larry Zbyzsko. And Larry Zbyzsko stalking Lex Luger. Luger counters with an arm drag. Follows it up with the right hand. Into the middle of the ring now, and belly-to-belly suplex by Lex Luger. And Luger deciding to step out of the ring now and turn it over to Chris Jericho. Clearly Chris Jericho the fresher of the two. Zbyzsko whips him into the corner. Jericho counters with an elbow. Zbyzsko counters with an arm drag. Zbyzsko dragging him to the set. Fireman's carry, beautifully executed by Larry Zbyzsko.
Well, Mike, you can respect a man's talent without really liking him, and that's the case of Larry Zbyzsko for me.
Larry Zbyzsko certainly a hotbed of controversy. Takes Jericho to the mat.
Like, for example, Mike, take a look. He's making a huge mistake here. Taking far too long to get Chris Jericho back to his feet. You see that, what I tell ya?
Indeed, Jericho back to his feet. Hard right hand to the face of Larry Zbyzsko. Zbyzsko countering. Hard right hand by Larry Zbyzsko. And into a neck breaker.
And don't Bobby Heenan look like he likes what he sees?
Bobby the Brain certainly looking like he's enjoying himself out there. Hard right hand by Larry Zbyzsko. A kick to the back to Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho looking to be in all sorts of trouble right here. Zbyzsko getting him back up to his feet. Counter by Chris Jericho. Sets him up. Impactful jawbreaker by Chris Jericho on Larry Zbyzsko.
Mike, for a fella who was flopping around on the canvas before, he sure looks confident now.
Jericho setting up Zbyzsko. Vertical suplex. Jericho getting Larry Zbyzsko to his feet now. Hard Irish whip into the corner. And now it's Chris Jericho stalking Larry Zbyzsko in enemy territory. Zbyzsko gets out of trouble here. Jericho counters. Arm drag by Larry Zbyzsko. And indeed, Shay, we've seen a couple of these fights for control, for momentum in this match, and now we're seeing another one between Jericho and Zbyzsko.
Sure, and this is the kind of stuff that makes tag team wrestling exciting, Mike. Chris Jericho counters. Whips Zbyzsko into the corner.
Jericho now tagging in Lex Luger. Going to see a little double team action right here. And that one looked like it may have hurt Bobby Heenan just a little bit. Luger going in for a pinfall. 1, 2, no good, only a 2 count.
Sure, and it looks like Lex Luger might be wearing Larry Zbyzsko down just a little bit, Mike.
Luger certainly looking in command of this one. Whips Larry Zbyzsko into the corner. Zbyzsko counters with an elbow to the face. Larry Zbyzsko now locking in the sleeper on Lex Luger. Everybody scrambles in the ring. Valentine prevents Jericho from coming to his rescue. And Luger may be fading. The referee's checking him. Lex Luger escapes the hold. And referee Marv Miller's hard-pressed to gain control of this one now. And indeed, Marv Miller initiating a count on Greg Valentine to get him out of there.
Holy crow, Mike. Zbyzko's got the sleeper back on Lex Luger again.
And for a second time, Lex Luger escaping the sleeper hold of Larry Zbyzsko.
Greg Valentine torturing Chris Jericho. And Lex Luger with a DDT on Larry Zbyzsko, going in for the pin. Suffering snakes, Mike. What's he waiting for? Count the pin! Greg Valentine breaking it up before there's even a chance for a count. And Lex Luger perhaps becoming a little bit frustrated. Chris Jericho slowly getting to his feet as Lex Luger locks in the chin lock on Larry Zbyzsko. Referee preventing Greg Valentine from coming to the rescue, but Zbyzsko gets out on his own. Mike, we're 11 minutes into a 15-minute matchup. Something's got to give soon. Larry Zbyzsko driving a knee into the back of Lex Luger. Tags in Greg Valentine. And after far too long, referee Marv Miller finally picking that chair up and getting it out of there. Lex Luger with a hard right hand takes Greg Valentine to the canvas. Greg Valentine delivers a knee to the face. Luger with a shot to the midsection that doubles Valentine over, drives him to the canvas. Mike, I get the feeling that Luger and Jericho are going to be able to keep their spot after all. Lex Luger is certainly looking in control of the situation at the moment. Hammer punch puts Valentine back on the canvas again. Luger follows it up with a devastating elbow. Valentine counters. Valentine back to his feet now. And now it's Valentine twisting the neck of Lex Luger. And Chris Jericho in the upper left of your screen showing signs of serious fatigue. And what's more, they're running out of time, Mike. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if we saw a draw on this one. Greg Valentine with the hammer punch. Valentine bringing Luger to his feet. Luger counters with an arm wrench. Luger giving this crowd a sense that he's got this in control. And Lex Luger trying to stomp Greg Valentine into the canvas here. Ah, but wait just a minute, Mike. He's whipped Luger into the corner. Valentine driving a knee right into the midsection of Lex Luger. Up on that middle rope. Elbow drop executed with beauty and precision by Greg Valentine. Who knows, Mike? Maybe this one won't end in a draw after all. And the crowd here in Bloomington certainly appearing to be behind Greg Valentine and Larry Zbyzsko. Perhaps wanting to see them in place of Chris Jericho and Lex Luger. And here we go again, Mike. Too Short trying to distract Greg Valentine while Lex Luger gets to his corner. Greg Valentine apparently having decided he's had quite enough of Scott Bell's foolishness. As Lex Luger once again tries to take command of the situation here. But Greg Valentine counters. Oh, wait just a minute now. Greg Valentine locking in the figure four. And he's got it locked in good, and Lex Luger's nowhere near the ropes. He can't get to the ropes. And Chris Jericho should be trying to save his partner, but he's on spaghetti legs. There's nothing he can do. Greg Valentine not relinquishing this hold. Larry Zbyzsko wisely running in to run interference. Chris Jericho finally snaps to his feet, gets knocked down. Luger's going to have to tap, Mike. That's it. Luger's tapping. This one's over. So Greg Valentine and Larry Zbyzsko win by submission at 12 minutes 45 seconds. And the worst summer in the history of Scott Bell's career continues to get worse. Can you believe it? They just lost their spot in the tournament. The Bell Council indeed out on its ear as Larry Zbyzsko and Greg Valentine at some future date will be facing Kaz Manson and Pogo Loco in the tournament. And Mike, while that might be a way down the road, I'm certainly looking forward to it. As tonight, Greg Valentine and Larry Zbyzsko triumphant. And Lex Luger and Chris Jericho get to start all over again.